Before a session with a client, or even if you just feel like you need extra support for the day and you know that you're processing any heavy karma or anything that just you feel like you just need extra universal support, it is really important to set up a sacred space. I will begin the sacred space and then I will go into explaining the different parts of it in more detail. So begin the sacred space by tuning into your breath, breathing into your belly, centering yourself and grounding. It helps to be in private, and so I would recommend doing this sacred space before your client arrives or before your session. I call in my I am template over myself and my client. I call in the original organic divine trinity, the Shekinah. I call in the organic divine father. I call in the 15th dimensional violet flame for transmutation. I call in the 15th dimensional pink flame for unconditional love. I call in the 14th dimensional yellow gold flame for power. I call in the 13th dimensional blue flame of truth. And I also call in all other healing flames, known and unknown to me, from the 12th dimension and beyond. From the original monadic collectives doing backflow return, I call on the archangels Metatron, Sandalphon, Michael, Raphael, Uriel, Zadkiel, Jophiel, and Haniel, as well as any other archangels, known and unknown to me, that are in their monadic collectives doing backflow return, that are aligned with my I Am presence. I would also like to call in all ascended masters from their original monadic collectives doing backflow return of Saint Germain, Lady Portia, Lady Nada, Kuan Yin, Dwal Kul, Katumi, Master Hilaron, Serapis Bey, Melchizedek, the Aurora Collective, Almoya, Lady MirIam, Yeshua 12D, aka Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Pele Athena, the Mahakoan, Sanat Kumara, and Ganesha. I would also like to include the original monadic collectives doing backflow return of the higher councils of the Milky Way of Pleiades, Orion, Sirius, Arcturus, Lyra, and Venus, as well as the higher councils of the galaxy of Andromeda, which some of those planets are part of. I would also like to call on the original divine collective doing backflow return of the divine indigenous shamans of Aboriginal, African, American Indian, and Maoris that are in alignment with the Shekinah and the New Earth Gaia collective. Also, I would like to call in all power animals working under these collectives to assist me with all heavy negative energy clearing. I now ask the original monadic collective of Michael to please clear this space of all negative energies and negative thought forms. Please push these down to Earth core, Aurora light, and beyond. I now ask that Michael please also set up energy curtains around my energy field to protect me from all projection and interference from external. I also ask Michael to please set up energy curtains in this room to protect me and my client throughout the healing journey. Okay, now the sacred space is set up. So the reason we need to do this is that if you don't set up a sacred space that's on this level of clarity and very specific what you're calling in, you end up either getting beings that are not fully in integrity with source. You might get beings that are not aligned with your I am presence and the Shekinah. There are what are called archons that exist since we started awakening on the planet that are fake angelic beings. They even look like angelic beings, but they are not the same frequency. All angelic beings moved from the 6th dimension to the 12th dimension and beyond. And this is why we need to be specific that they're coming from the monadic collectives, which means they're coming from the 12th dimension and beyond. In some of my sessions, I've experienced Mikael coming from anywhere between the 12th dimension, sometimes even the 18th dimension, depending on how intense, heavy, and what dimension I'm healing on. The other reason we need to call in the space is because if you don't do this, you end up using your own resources as a healer, which is very draining. And before I used to do this, it used to take me so long to remove even one curse because I'd be using my own life force. And we don't need to do this. There is so much support for us to hold space for any and absolutely anything, no matter how heavy it is. And I would like to add that there is no limit to how many archangels you can work with or how many ascended masters you can call in. You can call in any ascended master that you resonate with. It could be Ganesha or Merlin. Just make sure that they're coming from the monadic collectives and that they're doing backflow return. Now, backflow return means that they have returned to source. And so when they're co-creating with you, they are connected to source and are co-creating with you as equal beings, not channeling into you, which can distort the DNA, not taking you over, but working with you side by side as co-creators.
Beautiful. So talk more now about energy management.
So with energy management, we need to manage our energy as healers, and we need to ensure that after every healing, we do not use our own resources because it ends up being extremely draining and there's just no need to put yourself through this. A lot of healers who deal with heavy negative sorcery end up dying quite young from just excessive use of their life force to remove curses. And there's things that get heavier and heavier as you move up the dimensions. So it's very, very important to ensure that whenever something starts to feel extremely heavy, you call on extra support. There is no limit to how much support you can get.
Beautiful. Yeah, so talk more about calling support and clearing entities as they come up.
Okay, so after you've created the sacred space and you clear when I created the sacred space, I initially cleared some entities because before you started a healing session, you may have some things that are online in your field. You might have your own entities that have been hanging around. There might be entities in the space, so you just need to make sure that that's clear before you even begin. But once you open up someone's chakras and begin a healing, whatever healing it is, new entities can come into the space because of portals opening up in the energy field as the chakras open up, and then they start journeying and healing through whatever needs to be healed in their energy field. When this happens, usually you feel a heaviness coming into the space. It can feel like a discomfort. If you're not sure and the person's faces might be changing, or even if you just suspect that there's an entity, just call in Michael to please clear all the negative energies and push them down to earth core aurora light and beyond. The reason we need to push them down to earth core aurora light and beyond is because if you just clear an entity and you don't specify where you want that energy to go, it could still be lingering and hanging around in your house after a healing, which you really don't want that. So this is just a really clean way of making sure that there's no lingering energies. The other thing that I've noticed that happens sometimes in healings is that Sometimes you might feel that you need extra support on your halo, which is the area around the head. When that happens, I call on Uriel to amplify my halo, which prevents things plugging into me from my client or from higher dimensions or from entities. And so that's something that you would just have to do as you go through the day or through a healing.
Right. So, other than setting up a sacred space, how would you work with archangels?
Other than setting up a sacred space, I work with the archangels constantly throughout the day, because you have to realize that the archangels are a part of your greater body. They're not separate from you. They're not external beings. They are you. So it's literally like putting on a superhero costume. So when I need different things throughout the day, I call on the archangels to support and amplify my energy field. If someone breaks my heart, for example, I would call on Archangel Raphael. Or if I'm just feeling sad and lonely and I feel like my heart chakra needs a top up of energy, I would call on Archangel Raphael. If I feel like I need some joy in my life and some lightness, I would call on Archangel Haniel, for example. If I go to someone's house and their garden feels weird to me, I can call on Archangel Sandalphon to clear the land or the earth. If I go to the beach, sometimes I notice that the land isn't happy. It's something that I just feel innately within me. I just call on Archangel Sandalphon to please clear the land while I'm there. I also call on, for example, Metatron when I go to the shopping mall and I know that there's some energies there that are really not that great. I call on Archangel Metatron to clear the space for me before I get there so I have an easier experience. So the archangels are something that I just part of my everyday navigation through reality as a sensitive being. They just make my life a lot easier. And the more you work with them, the more that you feel them and the more that you are amplified. And there's no limit to how often you can call them. The reason that we call the higher councils of the Milky Way is that all of us are star seeds from either the Milky Way or Andromeda. Most of us are even from other galaxies. The reason we call on the higher councils is because every planet has a higher council that can support us in clearing negative karma that is related to that planet. Also, the higher councils are part of us as well. They're part of our higher body because all the planets in the galaxy are inside us as well, and they connect to a different part of our anatomy. So working with them just makes you stronger. And I also call on the healing flames because it also amplifies and makes things stronger. The violet flame particularly is very helpful when something is not moving fast enough in the energy field. Sometimes things are very heavy. Sometimes you need a little bit of strength. So you'd call on the yellow gold flame. Like if I'm clearing something that's very, very heavy in my stomach, I would just visualize the yellow gold flame in my healing session. And I would also ask my client to please visualize it because I noticed that the energies move a lot better when they're also with you, helping you in the healing, if it's needed.